Hi guys, it's Brindley Tecker and the infamous Monica Reynolds for your Leverage Live today. In full disclosure, we are not live today. We are pre-recording this as we both had some commitments this evening. But Monica, do you want to tell them what we're going to start talking about? I think this is really, really exciting.
Really, and I just spent some time on how we can make these, brief and valuable calls. And the word was valuable. How do we turn this into value? And yet not just what I call vomit and give you all this crazy information. Let's just take a system at a time. So as we start to go into the second quarter, you've really got to make sure that you're shoring up your system. So the first one that Brindley and I both talked about was the listing system. And what's happening when you analyze that. So if Brindley and I were going to come to your office, we'll be there this afternoon. We'd like you to pull out your files today and show us your listing system. Show us your communication system. Show us how you interact with the agent on the listing and also the client on the listing.
And how are you time blocking? How are you time blocking to get your listing system done?
Yeah, and how do you handle a call from an agent who all they had to do was read the MLS, and yet they called and asked you the stupid questions? How do you handle things like that without getting too frustrated? So let's get started. So what's the first thing that we would look at would be the checklist, right, Brindley?
It's always the checklist. And I think sometimes when we look at our checklists, we need to ask ourselves, are these really things that we need to be doing for the client? Are we doing too much, or are we not doing enough? Right, Monica?
Yeah, and you have to look at each item. Is this going to enhance the customer experience? So for example, in my world, I would say you need a thank you letter that goes out from the team. It's great if you get the whole team to sign, put signatures on it. Thank you for listing with us. Now, to me, that enhances the experience. And so you have to look at each one of those items. Has your list gotten so big that it's daunting, or is it not big enough?
Well, and I think too, like, markets are different. So we'll get calls a lot that'll say, well, this team is doing this and this team is doing that. Well, a team with a price point of 1.5, 2 million is not going to look like a team with a price point of 200,000, right? So does your checklist support your market?
Right. And what is normal in your market? What can you do, as Gary Keller talks about all the time, to set yourself different from the pack that is customer enhanced experience?
Yeah.
So one of the things is that you never want to call a client that you haven't, what we, Brindley and I, call pass the baton.
It's so important.
You need to know, is this a divorce? Is there a death in the family? Did they lose their home? Is it a promotion and they're super excited? Do they have a sick child at home? Yeah. What's going on in their life so that you don't turn out to be Miss Happy calling them, or Mr. Happy, and realize, the situation is, I should have toned it down. So know what the motivation of the sale is, right, Brindley?
Absolutely. And I do believe sometimes we get into this we versus us versus them battle with the agents on Pass the Baton. The minute that home has a signed listing agreement, the admin owns it. So it's the admin's job to get the information that they need in order to move that listing forward. Now, I'm not saying that all the agents get off the hook. It's important for the agents to also communicate the information. Yet once that agreement is signed, you own it. You own that listing, and it's your job to go out and get the information you need to process it. Don't you think, Monica?
Yeah, I've always said you're the CEO of the file, own it. And when there is a miscommunication between you and the agent, own it, fix it, learn how to fix it, learn what they want. There's a lot of, we always go back to, just remember, the agents are independent contractors, they're commissioned salespeople. So when they take a $300,000 listing, most of them look at that's $9,000, going in the bank. And when things get goofed up, or we're not paying attention and somebody wants to withdraw a listing because they didn't like this or that, that's very, very hurtful. So you always want to look at that person has agreed to give up 6% of the value of their home. And the customer service starts at, are you giving 6% of the value of their home customer service? Never let go of that thought, and you will be absolutely great. So after the checklist, Brindley, it's about communication. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think going back to what Monica said too, they're paying 3% of the cost of their home, right? I mean, they're paying 6% of the cost of their home, 6% for you to provide this service. So are you giving them 6% worth of value? And I think that's a huge, huge thing. And communication is a huge part of that. Are you introducing them as part of the team? Are you a partner with your listing agent? I love the term listing partner instead of listing manager now, because we are a team and it is a partnership and we need to be treating it as such. So is there a communication point and a handoff during Pass the Baton where you're introducing yourself as a member of the team, and this is what you can expect from me, and this is how we're going to move forward? Are you communicating with them on a daily basis to build that relationship and build that rapport at the beginning of the listing, or are you just blowing them off and not talking to them for a week? The honeymoon period that Monica teaches and that we talk about in our programs is crucial to building that relationship with a new seller in the beginning of the listing process, right, Monica?
Yeah, exactly. And when you said that, I thought, oh, you know what? The first expectation starts with the agent. There are so many agents that don't mention the next person calling you. By the way, here's her or his business card. This is my listing manager or my listing partner. He is the one that will have the file in front of them all the time. Here's her card, his card. They will call you tomorrow, whatever. So you set the expectation up at the listing presentation that there is a pass the baton. Another person will be calling. And unfortunately, that isn't done correctly. And then going back to communication too, is that no one will ever fire you because you over communicate.
Absolutely.
Those first 5 days, and I know a lot of you are handling tons and tons of files, good for you, especially during the shift. People get shifty, and what I mean by that, listings get shifty, that they go, well, they're not paying attention to us, we're not hearing from them. So, if you're on our operations team calls, the Perfect Operation Team, which starts this week, by the way.
Yes!
Yeah, we have an interview that we do live with a gal that does a lot of transactions, and the key is that you have to keep communicating those first 5 days so that they know that things are getting done. And then also, well, let's talk real quickly. What is the system about when someone shows a property? What's the best way? There's efficient ways when you have a lot of listings. However, that seller wants feedback. So what are your thoughts on that, Brindley?
Well, I just wanted to go back for a second on the communication piece and talk about how important it is to set the seller up for success and explain what they can expect next. Every phone call, like Monica said, over communicating is not a bad thing. And this comes with your agents too, right? Like you can never send too many emails, you can never send too many texts, you can never give too much information. And sometimes it's just a quick text of, hey, you don't need to respond, I just wanted to keep you in the loop on this. Or it's an email saying the same thing, hey, no need to respond, just wanted to keep you in the loop. That way you're being proactive and they're going to come to you less because they already are armed with the information they need. At the end of every call with a seller, you want to say, here's what you can expect next. I'm going to call you back in 24 hours. I'm going to call you back in 48 hours. That way you're minimizing the amount of internal communication and internal phone calls because you've told them exactly what to expect. And then you honor it, right? Follow up with it.
Yeah, and so going back into that expectations again, remember, you say, I'm going to call you often. You don't say every day because then you're going to get killed if you don't. You say, I'll call you often. And by the way, I'm available Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. I'm always at my desk. So that means you shouldn't be leaving, except for lunch. I'm always at my desk. I'm always available. I have your file in front of me. I work on your file every day. I'm the person you call for anything regarding that. The agent call once a week just to touch base, but they should never answer any questions about the file.
No, never. They should always pass the baton back to the listing partner, right? Or the listing manager. Going back to what you were saying about showing feedback, again, it's setting an expectation, right? It's time blocking your weekly rhythm as to when you're going to gather showing feedback and when you're going to present it to the seller. So it's telling the seller, we're going to present showing feedback to you on Mondays and Wednesdays, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Tuesday, Thursdays, every day. Whatever you and your agent decide, yet you set that expectation up front so they know when to expect the feedback, when they're going to get it, and you're setting yourself up for success so that you are time blocking showing feedback and you're not, again, working outside of your time block and doing and being reactive instead of responsive. Time blocking and creating a weekly rhythm of doing things is going to help you to be not reactive, but it's going to help you to be responsive and proactive. Right, Monica?
Yeah, and so I know there's a lot of online services, and I won't speak ill of them. If that works for you, that works for you. However, I'm a person that like my listing manager to make those calls. One, we're looking for agents to recruit possibly to our team or to Keller Williams. So that's the number two. And we're also looking for feedback that we can really, really use, because sometimes on those online services, which I've used, I don't always say the nitty gritty of what was wrong with the house. So there's three questions if you want to write them down that we always ask. One is your buyer going to write an offer to the other agent? And they'd say, well, yes, no, whatever. What would it take for that buyer to write an offer? Well, they didn't like this or that. And sometimes we can fix it, sometimes we can't. And then the third question is, which was really important, is that what do you feel the price of the home should be? And so we would use that. And we would say to the seller, we have unfiltered information. It may be a little sharp for you, a little painful. However, I know you want us to give you the honest truth. These sellers' number one complaint to the National Association of Realtors is that they don't get feedback from the realtor on showings. Number one complaint.
Number one complaint. And I would just add to that too, that number one, there's lots of ways, like Monica said, that you can get feedback. There's online systems, there's calling the client, there's forms at the actual home that they can complete and they can leave. The most important thing, though, that I think what Monica is sharing is that this is why it's crucial that your listing partner or your listing manager is licensed. Because if they're not licensed, they can't have those conversations for the agent. They can't represent the agent in those conversations, which means that the agent gets a lot of the job back. They're not able to ask for price drops. They're not able to gather that specific feedback that really could get that listing sold faster.
Oh, absolutely. We used to get things from like, well, we really smelled the cat box. And so the seller who had allergies could never smell the cat box. Believe it, cats had allergies, right? So, you know, it's easy things like that to fix. Or, you know, we really just didn't like the wall between the kitchen and the family room. They wanted an open concept. Everything else was perfect about the house, but the wife is adamant about an open concept. When we heard that, my listing manager was smart enough to say, well, you know what? What if we took that wall down? Well, that's great. We're not going to pay for that. Okay, fine. We'll find out. So it was a $1,500 deal to turn it into a pony wall, and everybody was happy.
Absolutely. I was talking to an agent 2 nights ago, and sometimes in their case, it's literally going into a house, changing the paint, changing the fixtures, and the home gets sold in 3 days versus 3 weeks. So it really is being a listing partner to notice those things and say, what can we do to help the seller get their home sold as quickly as possible?
Yeah, when everybody complains that the whole house has mauve carpet from the 70s, then every single showing for the first 2 weeks was, I can't deal with the carpet, and no one was willing, even though we put a carpet allowance in there. So we ripped out the carpet, put in kind of a neutral camel color beige thing, and it sold. That was it.
Well, and that's why we call it a partner versus a manager, right? A partner is right there with you, is acting as the, you know, your partner in the listing process. The agent and the listing partner are working together. They're working together on price drops. They're working together on the condition of the home. So I think that's a really big thing. And so we go from checklists, right, to communication. What's next, Monica?
You know, we've talked about setting expectations, checklist, communications. I think the last thing that we should talk about real briefly is after 2 weeks, you know, looking at tactic 12 in the shift book, please, please, please make sure that you are setting up price reductions.
Absolutely.
This day and age, you do not want these listings going 70, 80 days. They get tired, you get tired, and the value just continues to go down. It doesn't go up by waiting in this market. Now, there are some pockets around the country who are experiencing a great, robust market. Well, good for you. Just be prepared. This may or may not happen. So it's good to know about this. And who wants a house on the market more than 30 days?
And we love the term price improvement versus price reduction or price drop. Price improvement, right? It's improving the price to meet the market. That's so that we can get the home sold as quickly as possible. And it's being the expert.
Yeah. So what is your system for price improvement? What is your system for making sure that that communication is being set up maybe with a new CMA? How is that being set up so that they know that after so many showings or no showings and so many weeks on the market, that there is a conversation about a price improvement?
Well, and how is it being set up at the listing appointment, right? How are we setting it up to set the expectation that every certain number of days we're going to do a price improvement? So that when that time comes and your listing partner or listing manager goes to ask for the price improvement, it's already there. They already know that it's coming.
You know, a long time ago, Brindley, and I have to go back to like maybe 15 years ago. I got to go find this material, maybe 20 years ago. I had a 30-day listing critique that we sent to the sellers.
Wow.
This may be time to bring that back, because there's times you just go, that's stupid, who does that anymore? But now I think, you know, that, so when you think what's next, I think let's look at that, and that's you and I'll find that this week.
Let's
and
do
I
it.
do that, and then we'll post that out and we'll talk about it next week. How does
That'll
that
be
sound?
fun. I love that. I love that. I think that's great. So is there anything else before we wrap up this week that we want to talk around listings? Now we're going to dive into this a little bit deeper, and we're just going to use the next couple series to go over systems. If you have questions about an in particular system, Facebook message us, put it on our pages, email me at Brindley, BRINDLEY at kw.com, Monica at MonicaReynolds.com, Monica at MonicaReynolds.com. Monica, do you have anything to add before we sign off?
Parting thought.
Yes.
Also during this process, rate your asking for reviews and referrals. You should be asking for at least 2 reviews and 2 referrals, ask at least 2 or 3 times for a referral during this process.
I think that'd be a great thing for us to dive into on our next week's Leverage Live, is let's dive into reviews and referrals around listings.
Put it down, we'll do it.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate
All right, guys, have a great week. Bye.
Hey, Bren.